Okay guys, let's talk about changing the atomizer on a BDC tank. This is an Aspire BDC. The plastic tank and the glass tank, they both use the same coils, same atomizers. I just chose the plastic one for this demonstration so that you could see inside better. The glass tanks will look the same, except they have a metal shield that surrounds the side with two little windows. So now the atomizers that the BDC tank uses are dual coils, which means that there's two coils inside that are working together, and it will allow you to turn your voltage all the way up to 4.8 volts, or if that's a little too strong and you like just consistent but little amount of vapor, it can handle anywhere from 3 to 5 volts with the 1.8 ohm dual coil that it comes with. We also have the 2.1 ohm replacement coils, and with the 2.1 ohm replacement coils, they're also a dual coil, and they can handle anywhere from 3 volts all the way up to 6 volts. And what I love about that, I like a lot of vapor, so I can turn my winder battery all the way up to 4.8, and that's not even close to the maximum of what it can handle. Really great tank, really solid coils. They've actually come out with a BVC coil for the BDC tank, which I know sounds kind of confusing. BVC stands for bottom vertical coils. Aspire's done the same thing with the Nautilus in the past. When the Nautilus first came out, which is kind of a larger version of this tank, it initially came out with your standard dual coils, and then when the Aspire Nautilus Mini came out, they came out with the BVC bottom vertical coils for it. I fell in love with the Nautilus with those BVC coils. They wick really well, which means that liquid can travel into the coil easily. So if you turn the voltage up and you have a lot of vapor coming out of your tank, it needs to be able to wick just as fast so that your coil never dries out inside. So the BVC coils for the BDC tank are great if you want to run a higher voltage, if you're like myself. But even with the standard coils that the BDC tank has, still a great coil. You can still run a fairly high voltage and get a great vape. So let's say a couple weeks has gone by and it's starting to taste burnt consistently. It's a good indication that you need a new coil. Now if you put a new coil in and it's only been 4 or 5 days and it starts to taste a little burnt, it may not mean that your coil is burnt out. It may just mean that the liquid in the coil has burnt off quicker, then more liquid can come replace it, and if your coil dries out inside, it will start to taste burnt because there's no liquid to burn off and it's just burning that dry silica wick. If that's the case and it's only been a few days and your coil is already tasting burnt, don't worry, there's no need to change it out. All you need to do is gently drag on your tank without pressing the button on your battery. What that will do is pull liquid into the coil so that when it heats up, it has that liquid to burn instead of just burning the dry silica. If you've tried that and it's still tasting burnt, then you need a new replacement coil. So to change out the coil on your BDC tank, the first step is to remove the tank from the battery. We're going to grab it by the base of the tank that has the airflow holes in it. We're going to remove the entire tank from the battery. Then we're going to turn the tank upside down. Once the liquid has settled down here on the bottom, you want to grab the base piece with the airflow holes in it, and we're going to remove the base piece. So I've taken that off, and here's the base piece with the atomizer attached. So I'm going to grab the atomizer and twist it counterclockwise to remove it from the base piece. We're going to throw out the old coil and grab a new BDC coil, Screw it back into the base piece. Make sure you get it in there tight. We don't want it to shake loose on us. And we're going to place the whole base piece with the new atomizer back into the tank. Screw it in, make sure it's in there tight. We're going to take the tank and screw it back onto the battery. Now, when we have a brand new coil in our tank, before you start firing away, you want to prime the coil. Because the coil does not have the silica wick that comes out of it, it's almost impossible for liquid to enter the coil on its own. It needs a little help. So before you press the button, you want to gently drag on the tank, and not too hard because you don't want to overdo it and flood it, which means bring too much liquid in there to where it starts leaking. All you want to do is gently drag on it until the air starts to taste like your flavor. This one's going to take a little bit more than, say, a T3S tank or EBC tank. It's going to take a little bit more suction to make sure that the liquid comes through those little holes on the side of your atomizer and saturates on that silica wick. When you can taste the flavor in your tank, and it no longer just tastes like air, you can taste the watermelon or grape or whatever flavor you have. If you have a variable voltage battery, turn it down to about 3.8, maybe 4 volts, and we're going to take a couple puffs. Make sure that it tastes like your flavor and doesn't taste burnt. If it tastes like your flavor, then if you're like me and like a lot of vapor, you're free to crank it on up. And puff away.